Well, good morning to you and welcome to my channel, Going Coconuts. I'm Chris and this is today's video. It's early morning right now. The sun isn't even over the palms yet over here. There's not even really any boats moving yet. So it's another beautiful day in paradise. We have 4 weeks remaining on Dominicus Beach. So we're about 2 months through our trip already. And now we're looking at the final stretch. It's interesting how the time feels when you're down here. You know, you get down here your first night and I walk down to the pier and you're looking at 3 months in paradise, right? And you just kind of think, oh, all the things I want to do. I have so much time, and you start running through all the different excursions you want to do again, and the snorkeling you want to do, these beach walks you want to do. And then you get to halfway point and you realize, oh, I'm halfway. Wow, that went faster than I thought. And then you get to your 2/3 point and you think, oh, I better hurry up. I better get there. Man, I got so much more I want to do. And then you start kicking things into overdrive because, you know, it feels like you're running out of time now. It's interesting. In long-term stays, these are kind of the feelings you go through as you get through the time down here. It's just one of those things when you're doing long-term travel, you know, it's you're still looking at the clock, right? You still know there's that airplane ride home, and you know you're staring it down, you're looking at it thinking, this is the time I have left. So whether you're doing 1 week, 2 weeks, or 3 months, you're still looking at the time and when it's going to be that day to go home. Me and Lauren have been talking about it, and we're definitely looking forward to going home. So we love our time here, but when we do these extended vacations, when you get closer to the end, you start also getting excited about going home, right? I think about my garage and the yard and all the stuff, you know, I can start doing around the house again, and opening the pool up, and we'll probably have about a month before we gotta get the pool running again, and all these kinds of things. So you kind of get a little excited as well. As much as it's kind of sad to go home, once we get to this point in our time, we also start to get excited about going home. So, and you know, it's such a different place when you go home, right? So you get so accustomed to this, waking up every day, you know, coming down here to the sea for a beach walk. The only thing that's out here with me is the crabs and the waves and the sun coming up over the palms. You know, you start to get used to this, and then you go home and you remember, oh yeah, this is what home's like. So it's a shock too when you go home, you know? And I think the first shock we get is when we hit the airport in Punta Cana, because, you know, you get this modern facility, the bright lights, you know, you go through the duty-free shops and you're like, oh yeah, whoa, this is very westernized now. So out here, living the beach bum life, you know, it's pretty chill out here, right? So most of our time is in this setting you're looking at right now. You know, Catechus is a beautiful place, but it's just got an old world vibe to it, right? So we don't have that modern, we're not as familiar with that modern look. But as soon as we hit that airport in Punta Cana, that's where the shock starts, you know? And with a 3-month stay, it is a shock. Another big thing that you forget about, and it's a bit of a shock as well, is everybody's speaking English, right? So out here in Catechus, like, there's not a lot of English speaking people. It's more rare to find someone who speaks English. There's a lot of French here, a lot of Spanish, of course, and lots of Italians. So going to a place in the airport and all these English speaking people, you're like, oh wow, like it's so easy now. Everyone speaks English. Like, we get so used to not being able to communicate with people, from restaurants to taxis to the grocery stores, right? We don't speak Spanish well. We are learning, and every time we come down, we're learning more. You know what? When you get around people again and everyone's speaking English, you're just like, oh, this is a breeze, right? So that's a big difference we notice too, is just that communication barrier just disappears, and we're like, oh yeah, I forgot how easy it is just to do everyday things. You know, and then just going home and remembering just how the culture's different and the people, and our lives are different in Canada, in the United States, in Europe. You know, it's different than it is here. And after 3 months, you really get into the rhythm of things down here, you know, and their customs slowly become your customs, right? So, and you start to adopt these habits and these customs of the area, right? You know, you just get used to how things are done. Like when you go into the grocery store and the guys come up, take your cart, and they bag your groceries, and then, you know, you give them a tip. Like, you just get used to those things, and it just becomes normal. So there's a lot of those things. The way they do things, you just kind of adopt after a while, and it becomes normal. That's kind of the difference, right? You go home and things are done differently again, and you're like, oh yeah, that's what this feels like again. And you know what? I would say, you know, the first few trips to the grocery store, and, you know, at least the first 3-4 days, you kind of feel a little out of place at home, right? You feel like a stranger where it's usually home, just because you have to get through that initial change and that initial shock and that initial culture shift back to the way things are at home. So there's a little bit of adapting to be done when we get home, and there's that change, right? But that's what travel's all about. And that's why we do this, right? We do this to push ourselves to experience things differently, right? I mean, how wonderful is it to be able to come here and really become part of the fabric of this part of the island, and become so familiar with the way things are done here with these people. And you know what? As different as it is, there's always something to learn. And that's what I love about it. Even though it's the Dominican Republic, and most of us just come here, hit an all-inclusive resort and go home. But if you do a long-term stay here, you will learn things. You'll learn things from these people and how they do things. But it looks like it's going to be another beautiful day here in paradise. They were calling for rain today. I don't know. It was supposed to be a big rain day today, and look at it. The sun is shining. The sun's coming up. So it doesn't look like it's going to be a rain day to me. So that's the Caribbean for you, right? Like I said in my other video, you know what? I stopped paying attention or focusing so much on the weather channels, because you know what? It'll all change. Well, guys, that's it for today's video. That was this morning's beach walk here in La Romana. I'm in the beautiful national park, And you know what? It's going to be another beautiful day in paradise. If you're coming down here, get excited. It's a beautiful place to be. You're going to enjoy your time here. And you know what? I'll see you in the next one.